All right, what's up, Red Faction? So, real quickly, I'm making this video because I was sitting around and I was just kind of, you know, doing my own thing when I thought, you know, I've been seeing a lot of talk on the Destiny community's opinions about where the game stands, where it's at, everything under the sword, everything under the sun, and I've seen it from multiple sides of the community, both the PVE and the PvP side. And I thought, you know what? Let me make a video briefly kind of going into all of it. So, let's talk about this. Okay? So, first things first, when we look at the PvE side of things, let's go basically to where most people, when the week does a full restart, let's take a look at aspects of PvE that most people do. Endgame. So we have dungeons. Dungeons really isn't big endgame, but it's still up there. We got Shattered Throne. Then we have, Pit of Heresy and Duality. 3 dungeons right there. Cosmodrome. Grasp of Avarice. That's 4. Savathun's Throne World. Spire of the Watcher. 5. Helm. Ghosts of the Deep. 6. Legends. Prophecy. That's 7 dungeons. If I'm correctly saying all that. We have about 7 dungeons in Destiny. Okay. Shattered Throne. Pit of Heresy and Duality. Grasp of Avarice. Spire of the Watcher. Ghosts of the Deep. And Prophecy. Okay. There's no dungeons on Europa. Okay. EDZ doesn't have any dungeons. Alright. There's no dungeons in the tower. Not anymore. Used to be you went there for Prophecy. Nessus doesn't have any. No raids or strikes here. Only strikes here. No raids or dungeons. Okay, so that's 7. That's 7 dungeons we have in Destiny. Okay. And we have three characters. You have 3 characters in Destiny. You either have a hunter, a titan, or a warlock. That's 3. And if you look at 7 dungeons, that's 20. If you do each character, that's 21 dungeons you can do. Now, let's say a dungeon, can last anywhere from half hour to maybe 45 minutes. If you have optimal stuff, you're running through that in about half an hour, I want to say. But now let's take a look at another aspect. Dungeons also have, you guessed it, master versions. Duality has a master version. Grasp has a master version. Spire has a master version. And Ghost of the Deep has a master version. That's 4. Now that's an extra 12 dungeons you get to do if you spent a whole day doing dungeons. Okay? Now, I'll get to my point after I kind of have brought all this up. So, we look at that. That's about, let's see, yeah. Another, I just did the math too. 21, and then 4, 12. So, about 33 dungeons you can do in PvE. And if that's the only thing you want to do in a day is just run through dungeons. That's 21 dungeons you can do. Break down half. Let's see, that's about 10 and a half hours, I want to say, that you can spend just doing dungeons. That's if everything's optimal, everyone's freaking on point with everything. If the minimum time you take is 21. Now, what's the real end game of Destiny? Well, that's simple. Raids. Raids are the real end game of the PvE community. It is something the PvE community will do whenever. So we have Last Wish, Garden of Salvation, Vow of the Disciple, Deepstone Crypt, um, King's Fall, Vault of Glass. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then Root of Nightmares. 7. 7 dungeons. Again, 21 um 21 dungeons you can do in a group of 6. Now, going into this, there are massive versions of dungeons too, of raids too. Vow has a massive version. Root of Nightmares has a massive version. And King's Fall and Vogue both have massive versions. Again, that's like, you know, the same amount of time. But raids take a little longer. They take up to an hour. So we're looking at, doing all that in an hour. You can spend basically a whole day, if not more, just doing dungeons, just doing raids. Last Wish, Garden of Salvation, Vow of the Disciple, Deepstone Crypt, Root of Nightmares, King's Fall, and Vogue. Okay? That's all the time that you have. And that's just the end game of PvE. That's not talking everything else you can do in PvE. You can go fishing to relax. You can do this frickin' Vexcalibur mission. You got salvage, deep dive, salvage on legend, the Psyops battlegrounds, or no, the Defiant battlegrounds that we got from last season. You have all these strikes you can do. You just go in here and go ham. You can do Nightfalls. You can do Grandmasters. So yes, a majority, and then there's lost sectors you can do to get something that you want. There's other missions you can like replay and redo. Do weekly missions, do Wellspring, do these reflection missions, do preservation. Do redo campaigns that you can do Lightfall or Witch Queen. You redo those. There's Partition you can do. You got Terminal Overload. Then you got frickin' Vex incursions. You can go all the way down here and listen to stuff about the Veil. PvE has so much content. Okay? It does. It makes about, I want to say about 90% of Destiny is PvE. Oh, and let's not forget, we got Dares of Eternity that you can do. So, there is so much content to be absorbed in PvE. Right? Understandable? Okay. So let's talk about another aspect of this game. Because Destiny is a first-person shooter that has like an MMO type feel to it, there are a lot of guns to it. Now, let me tell you something. A lot of these guns come from PvE. Let's take a look at auto rifles. So auto rifles that can come from PvP are, we got the Forward Path, Sumner, and Shadow's Verse, Sorrow's Verse, and Dark Decider. So about 4 of our 4 of the guns used in Destiny's PvP in terms of auto rifles just come from PvP. Okay? But every other gun that exists in terms of auto rifles comes from PvE. Arc Log you get from the moon. Arctic Haze you get from Europa. Gnawing Hunger is random roll. Age Old Bond comes from Last Wish. This is from a raid. This is from a mission. This is from the Throne World. This is from a PvE event. This is from the Defiant Battlegrounds. This comes from Spire of the Watcher. This came from our when we dealt with fucking Callus. This is just a random drop. Random drop. This comes from a frickin' Nightfall. This comes from Gambit. That's one Gambit auto rifle. Frickin' Nightfall. Back when we had Season of the Splicer. That came from here. False Promises. Random drop. Last Breath. That came from a frickin' dungeon. And that's just the auto rifles. So majority of our guns that we get come from PvE. Scholar, Guiding Sight, Randy's Throwing Knife, and Aisha's Embrace are the only scout rifles that come from PvP. Yeah, you can get Last Right from anything, okay? Like, you can do whatever mode you want to get that. This was from Guardian Games. This is from a Nightfall. This was a random drop, I believe. PvE. There's a... Oh, this is another... This is the only Gambit Scout Rifle. Raid. From, like, seasons ago. Savathun's Throne World. PvE. Random drop. Spire of the Watcher. Season of Plunder. Raid. Pulse Rifles. Raid. Random drop. Raid. Europa. Random drop. PvP. PvE. Random drop. Witch Queen. PvE. PvE. From a thing. PvP. Random drop. PvP. PvE. 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 You know, PvP. PvP. PvE. Random drop. PvE. PvE. Gambit. PvE. Retro weapon. PvE. PvP. I don't need to keep going with all this. Okay? But a majority of our guns that we get in this game are PvE. And guess what? Two of the most used shotguns in Destiny's game come from, drumroll can please, PvE. Literally, from a raid. Where the hell is it? It's here somewhere. I know it is. I passed over it. From a dungeon. Two of the most used shotguns in Destiny's game, in terms of the energy slot, come from PvE. Astral Ryzen and the Wristwalker are the only shotguns that people use from PvP. But the majority of the shotguns are from PvE. Grenade launchers, same thing. I don't need to say this enough. It comes from PvE. If you're using a grenade launcher, majority of the times you got from PvE. Because let's be fair, how many of these grenade launchers have you gotten from PvP? None, because all of the grenade launchers in this category come from PvE. Fusion rifles. If you're using Loaded Question, that came from PvE. If you're using Wise and Rebuke, that came from PvP. If you're using Glacial Chasm, PvE. No Composure, Retro Weapon. Plug 1, PvE. Snorri was a random drop. Riptide, if you're using that, yeah, you got from PvP. Pressurized Precision, PvP. But the majority of these, Burden and Guilt, PvP. Yes, there's only a couple that come from PvP, but the majority of these come from PvE. Snipers. Some of the most used snipers in the game. Eye of Soul, PvP. But guess what? If you use Voltic Bracket, that's PvP. Distant Pull, PvE. Supremacy, PvE. Beloved, you got that in PvE. By the Fox and Eye of Soul, Frozen Orbit, and Occult Finality, and that's it. Oh, and the Miracle Overreach all come from PvP, but majority of the snipers that get used in this game come from PvE. And as someone who is a sniper, yes, Occult Finality is a very good sniper, but Frozen Orbit is very freaking good as well. Silicon Neuromia, I need to get a good roll of this, is a PvE gun. Need a good Miracle Overreach. I don't talk about this gun because honestly, I haven't gotten a standout roll. But that's my point. A lot of the guns in Destiny come from PvE. PvE makes up a majority of our game. If you're a trace rifle, you only got these from PvE. Glaives. Honestly, unless you're using the frickin' this glaive, you got everything from PvE. Swords. Let's be fair. How many swords do people use that didn't come from Destiny's, PvE? If you're using one in PvP, there's only 2 swords from PvP. If you use swords. Grenade launchers. I think the only grenade launchers that PvP gives is Swarm of the Raven, and that's it. Every other grenade launcher comes from PvE. Rocket launchers. How many rocket launchers do we have from PvP? 1, 2, 2? Oh no, 3 because there's a blow up. So 3. Every other rocket launcher is PvE. Linears. Reed's Regret. Okay. That's one from PvP. And that's it. Everything else from PvE. Machine guns. See, there's 1. Yeah. And, Unwavering Duty. So there's 2. There are 2 machine guns. But the majority of the armor you get from Destiny that people use, when I think about everything, doesn't even come from the PvP. These don't give Artifice armor. The only way for you to get Artifice armor is to do some of the dungeons. To get a Deep Explorer set, or get a Grasp of Avarice, or literally having to do master content is the only way you get a majority of these. And that's starting from Vogue all the way through all this. All these can give, better stuff. This doesn't give artifice, I don't believe. But I know this does, this does, this does, and this does. Because these have master. So majority of our content when it comes to this game come from PvE. Everything I did here, from PvE. This I got in PvE. This I got in PvE. All these, this artifice armor that I do have, all from PvE. Swarmers I got from a PvE thing. But now, because we've talked about PvE enough, and we spent a good 20 minutes on it. Yeah, 20 minutes. About how many of each dungeon and raid you have? Almost 21, if not 24. If not even higher than that. But then let's talk about PvP. This is what we have for PvP. You have Crucible Labs. This Crucible game mode is called Countdown. Then you get Competitive, which is a combination of Rift, Survival, and Showdown. Control, the Rift game mode, Private Match, Rumble, and Team Scorched. Crucible Labs a while ago was the Dominion. That was basically the Trials of Osiris mode. Guess what? On Friday, Trials takes over this game node. So then you're just left with Competitive, Control, Trials, and these other modes. This rotates out, this rotates out. This will always stay, this will always stay, this will always stay, and this will always stay. And we already talked about what you get from PvE, from PvP. There's very little guns you get in from PvP that you're using in a lot of other game modes. Like literally there's like 2 guns that I use that are specifically from PvP. And this one I use the most because this is my best sniper rifle. In terms of PvP here, what, 2? 2 of my guns are from PvP here. I got 1 PvP grenade launcher. Everything else here is all frickin' PvE. There's not a single except for this. This is the only PvP pair of boots I have. All my chest pieces are from, you guessed it, PvE. Same with all my gloves. This is just a random freaking helmet I got because I need to get but I think this isn't even Artifice. And I have it because I need Artifice helmet. All from PvE. Destiny's PvP community makes about, I want to say about 6 to 7% of this game. Okay. But now to my final point before I talk about everything. Let's talk about this game mode. Let's realistically, let's talk about it. So when this game mode first came in its inception, it had, now this might be new for some of the new lights out there, but this game mode used to have 2 modes. Gambit would be over here, and then there'd be another game mode here. It was called Gambit Prime. Gambit used to be, in its initial inception, was a 3-round, 75 mode 4v4. Same concepts and everything that you understand when you play Gambit now, except for like the heavy crates and having the 100 things, used to be 3 rounds. If you won the first and second round, you were good. If you lost the first, won the second, you went to a 3rd round. Or if you won then lost, you went to a 3rd round. And this is when Gambit was interesting. Because your supers got maxed out. You basically were given an instant super. They recharge incredibly fast. Invasion portals were ready from the jump. Yeah. And we had 2 extra maps. I know. Surprising, right? And then there was Gambit Prime. Gambit Prime came in about Joker's Wild. I think whatever season that was, we got that. Now, am I saying all this because I'm going to make it another Gambit video? No. This is not what this video is. This video is just to basically explain that Destiny as a whole has become very... The PvE is very saturated. And that's not a bad thing. But there's so much you can do in terms of PvE. There's a good bit that you can do in terms of PvP. If you like Gambit, well, you're shit out of luck because you only have like one thing to play. I'm going to be fair to you. I mean, we'll even go to... Let's go to each vendor. Let's go to Zavala because he's in charge of the PvE aspect of it. We'll go to Shax because he's in charge of the PvP aspect. And we'll go to the Drifter. Yeah. We're going to go to each one of them. And I'll point out which things they currently offer that people will actually use. From what I use, compared to everything else. Because Saladin's gone. He ain't here right now. He left for the season. Okay. Yeah, we got sources of bleh going on right now. But, okay. Let's go to Zavala. What's up, Bluehead? Oh yeah, I should probably collect these because I have them. Okay, so he has bounties, right? And he has, you know, you can get like the last ride and a bunch of this other crap. He has all these bounties you can do, and you can focus the coding. So you can use, you know, some legendary shards, some glimmer, and the Vanguard emblem to get any one of these guns. Guess what? If you like double primary, I know TV's showing this off a lot, you can get a third axiom. If you like sidearms that are rapid fire, you can get a punching out. But I barely see a Nameless Midnight. I barely see that. I barely see that. I barely see this. I see this every once in a while. What is this? Who is this? Okay. Meh. I see this, 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 and this. All of these come from PvE. And I've seen these guns in PvP before. A good bit. And that's what he offers. That's him. He's the PvE guy, but they're guns that get used in PvP. Huh. Now, keep her going. Let's go to this guy. He has the reward track, he has bounties, and he has focus decoding. Now, I don't want to go through the legacy gear that the other guy had, but I probably can. I see this gun. I see this gun. This gun. And sometimes that gun. In PvP. This gun is good if you don't have a good sniper. Like an Occult Finality, or ISOL, or Supremacy. Or an Adored. There you go. Don't have a good kinetic pulse rifle? Here you go. Right there. Want a submachine gun? There you go. Auto rifle? There you go. Sniper? There you go. Another sidearm? There you go. Okay. There's that. Going back to Zavala, because we're going to look at the legacy stuff that he has, because he does have some legacy decoding that you can do. So, Mindbenders. You remember this gun? Yeah, so do I. I hate it. I've seen it, though, used in PvP. This 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 used in PvP. And then all his legacy armor. So, does the PvE community play PvP? Well, some do, and some don't. Some want to stick to PvE. Others want to stick to PvP. But guess what? There's that. Now, Let's go to old Drifter here. What does he have for us today? An upgrade mod. So he has the same track as everyone else. He gets engrams, he has bounties, and now he has decoding. So, how many of these guns do you see in PvP? 1, 2. I barely see this gun. Barely see this gun. I do not see this thing. Once in a while, I see this more in Gambit. Man, I don't really see it a lot. Once in a blue moon, and I don't know why you're using it. That's just from the tower. Now we have the helm that you can go to do all of the focus decoding that you have for whatever reason. I think I have a lot. But this is my big point. My one big point. I don't want to hear about complaints from the PvE community that complain about the PvP community. The PvP community has some valid points. They do. The PvP community does have valid points. The matchmaking doesn't make a lot of sense in a lot of your engagements. In terms of PvE, like, yes, it happens because of the servers, but the servers aren't dedicated. Yeah, we don't have anything here to do focusing. Oh, but look at this. Huh. This comes from a PvE. This comes from a PvE. These come from PvE, but I don't see them that much. Same with this. All of these are PvE related. It has a track, the same as everything else. It has bounties, same as everything else. But a majority of the weapons that get used in Destiny's PvP come from PvE. Because Destiny is a PvE game that brings in splashes of PvP elements. But a majority of the people, when they want to watch content, you know what they're picking? Some people want to see PvE. Some want to see PvP. Well, why would you want to watch PvP? Because the PvP community brings in a lot of points. They understand build crafting just as much as the PvE community does. They understand how to make these things, how these things work. And a lot of them have to do PvE in order to get stuff that they can then use in PvP. I don't want to see the community fight and argue about the game and what majority of it is. Destiny's a PvE game with splashes of PvP. And what game mode shows off Destiny's enhanced version of both of those kind of things? This game mode right here. So when people say, well, they should just get rid of Gambit, okay. I say get rid of PvP because you're getting rid of a PvP aspect. If people say get rid of Gambit, we should just have PvE and PvP, well, you're getting rid of this game mode because it's a combination of both. So basically, my final point is Destiny is a game that allows for everyone to play what they want in a given day. The game needs to have dedication to all of that aspect. Not just one or two. All of it. When you hop into Destiny, you should be able to play exactly what the hell you want to play. If you want to play PvE, there's hours of content for you. So much stuff for you to do. So if you say you're bored and you're a PvE only, fucking find people to play with. Because there's a whole crap ton of content for you. From the dungeons, to the raids, to the activities, to just go fishing, damn it. Like, really, seriously, just go fishing. If you're bored, if you're so bored with Destiny in terms of PvE, just go fishing. You go fishing for a while. Oh, yeah, there's a public event now I can do. Oh, then I can go back to fishing. while I wait for people to get on so I can do this raid or do this dungeon. So I can get loot and gear that I'm probably not going to use. If you're a PvP only, I feel sorry for you, honestly. Because there's fuck all for you to do. You're stuck in a rock and a bloody hard place, and guess what? I feel bad. You know, I do. And I feel bad because I enjoy PvP, I enjoy PvE, and I also enjoy Gambit. Hell, my name's not the Gambit Overlord, and I don't have this frickin' hat just sitting on my microphone for shits and fucking giggles. I enjoy Destiny's Gambit game mode. But the Gambit game mode is shit compared to what it used to be. PvP is shit compared to what it used to be. PvE, it's never been bad. In my opinion, PvE has never really been bad. Because there's always something for you to do. You could do a dungeon. You could do activities. You could do missions. You could help people get shit. You could do fucking strikes. There's nightfalls. There's things to do. But that's the thing. PvE is everywhere. But not a lot of people bring that into effect. So, realistically, I'm telling you, the PvP community, you guys need dedicated servers. You need to have a rotation for your 3v3 community and your 6v6 community. Your weapons need to be available in a better spotlight. Also, I feel, especially with Trials weapons, I'm not going to say they need to be, like, you know, craftable, because that would destroy the whole concept. Crafting weapons has destroyed the grind for, you know, the god rolls you want. Let's say you really like this gun. Oh, you can just craft it. Okay, fine. I just gotta get 3 patterns. Done. But there's a gun that you don't get to craft. Well, wait for the god roll. That's really all I can say. Because when patterns got added to dungeons and for raids, it made going for god rolls non-existent. That's just the God's honest truth. That's just the case. I will say, though, that it's nice to see guns in PvE that are at least useful in PvP. But we're at the point now where you can literally use an entire PvE setup and do fine in the game. Let me show you. Go to weapons, and let's say we're going in terms of pulse rifles. Let's say you like using pulse rifles. Chattering Bone, Disparity, and Syncopation. Let's say you're a pulse rifle user. You can use those pulse rifles and do fine. If you're a shotgunner, you could do Vogue, or you could do Grasp. Get those, and you're fine. You have a good set. You're heavy, just run Gallahorn. You know, exotic slots. Yeah, just you can run Gallahorn and be fine. This gun, when it came into the game, was a Gambit player's worst nightmare. And then this made it hard. But this one made it really hard. And this came from a raid. All these come from other frickin' from PvE or raids. This is from a raid. And this is from a dungeon. This is from a raid that you can't do anymore. This is from a raid. This is from a dungeon. This is from a dungeon. This is from a raid. Energy slot. Let's take a good look-see through everything. So... Raid. 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 Dungeon. A mission. A mission. Oh, now kinetics. Let's see. I believe this was something that you got from completing something in a raid. But they might have changed it. I don't know. I can't remember. Dungeon. Mission. 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 A mission that you can't do anymore. A mission. A mission. A mission. A mission. Mission. Got it. Start season. Raid. Mission. Mission. Raid. Give it to you. Mission. Dungeon. No mention of PvP though. Huh. Interesting. So yes, that's my point. That's the whole point of this was to say, if the PvP community is complaining about not having enough things, it's true. Yes, Destiny is a PvE game, but the fact of the matter is, not everyone in the community is a PvE player. So their points are valid when they say that this doesn't have enough. I feel, in my honest opinion, that considering the fact that 3 game modes that are always here are 6v6s, and this only changes to a 3v3 on the weekends, is a balance. But I hate to say it, it's not enough. Because honestly, Team Scorched, you're just doing it to get free levels on a weapon? That doesn't seem fun to me at all. Rift? Sucks. Control? Why? Competitive? 3v3? Rumble? There are still people that play Rumble because they want to learn how to deal with fighting a multitude of other Guardians. But they're using everything here that you see here or here. Private matches? Yeah, okay, let's talk about private matches real quick. So this has a private match, and this has a private match. All this PvE content that you got down here. So PvE is everything here. This is all PvE content. So let's break it down. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So taking out the tower, that's about 10 things. Okay. If we give this a section, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So taking out the tower, that's about 10 things. Okay. If we give this a section, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So taking out the tower, that's about 10 things. Okay. If we give this if we take the fact, if we look at our number, we said 95%. 95% of this, 90% of this game, not 95, is this, and that is just shown by this design. Everything here, except for the tower, is all PvE. PvP that makes up about, 6 to 7% of this community is here. Boom. Here's your percentage. 6% of you are in here. In these 6 areas. The other 4%? It's here. And they're not even broken down into anything. There's not like a 2% of them are in regular Gambit, and then another 2% are here. The entire Gambit community that plays Gambit, from the Dredgens to whatever, are all in here. You go here solo, have fun facing 4 stacks, 3 stacks, 2 stacks. You go here, deal with sweats. These are the only 2 things you can select for Gambit. If this was Gambit before, oh, there'd be no problems. Gambit would be fine. Because you would have 2% of the community that wants to have fun, relax, enjoy themselves, and do bounties. They'd go here to regular Gambit. The part that wants to actually do well in Gambit and get their ranks and get their guns and everything would go here. But now that whole aspect of the community is in this one game mode. Here, you want to sweat, you go to competitive. You want to relax, you go to Team Scorched. You want to sweat, you go here. You want to sweat, you go here. You want to try this, you go here. And if you're here, I feel sorry for you. But that's the aspect of this, of our community. We have such a vast player base that can go anywhere, do anything. And all we hear about is there's nothing to do. I'm bored of Destiny. It's a dead game. Have you done everything every single week? Because at that point, that's on you. Like, there's so much PvE content for you to do. Literally, the only time I will ever accept anyone saying they are bored of Destiny is if they have done the Grandmaster Nightfall every single time. If they've done this raid a bunch of times. They've done every part of Terminal Overload. They've done the weekly mission. They've gone through the Vex Incursion Zone. They've listened to everything here. If they've done everything on Europa, they've done the simulation this week. If they've done the Empire Hunt this week. If they've done the raid this week. If you have everything in here done, and you've done it all. If you've gone to the Throne World and you've done all these missions, you've done Wellspring, you've done the raid, you've done the dungeon here. If you've gone to the EDZ and you did all of this, you did this, and you talked to Devrim, and you did this other crap. You know, if you went to the Cosmodrome and you've done Grasp of Avarice and all these frickin' missions down here. If you've done this frickin', if you've done the Pit of Heresy, if you've done Altars of Sorrow, you did Duality, you went to Nessus and did stuff on Nessus. If you went to the Dreaming City and run through Shattered Throne and Last Wish and did all the stuff there, if you've done fucking Dares of Eternity to death, and you've done frickin' Vault of Glass, Prophecy, and King's Fall, then I'll accept you saying that you're bored of Destiny's PvE. The only community that can say that they are bored is this community. Because they don't have anywhere else. Because if they want to play Destiny and they want to play Gambit, they have to go here. And only here. You say you want to do PvE that day, you have all of this. All this here. to do. If you want to play Destiny's PvP, you can pick any number of these game modes to go into. The point of the matter is, Destiny's community really needs to take a look at their game and see all the shit that there is to do. And I've almost talked for an hour on this. Okay? Yes, there may be times when you want to do more, but unless you've done, unless this here, and you have a run on each dungeon and raid and everything, and you have all this basically empty, like even going to the tower, if you've got your commendations done, you've done your gambit thing, you've done your vendor challenge here, you've done the vendor challenge here, you've done the vendor challenge here, and you've done the vendor challenge here, that is the only time that you can physically say that you have done everything in Destiny. And it's the only time I will allow someone to say that. Okay? The only time that I will allow this community to say that. Oh, it's 62 now. Okay, cool. But until you can say that to me, I really don't want to hear it. Because you're speaking out of your ass. To me. You really truly are. Now I gotta go talk to Evil Levante. But yeah, basically that's it. That's all I wanted to say. So, I know some people are probably gonna get upset. I probably, even if people even see this video, they'll get upset. But the communities, instead of talking about, you know, well, this community always complains, but this community has everything. The points are valid. If a PvE player says the PvP community needs to be quiet because Destiny isn't a PvP game, the majority of it is PvE. They're right in saying it, but they're not right in saying that people don't like PvE. Did I already deal with this? I did. Oh. Heck, even this is PvE. But yeah, that's where I'm going to leave it. right now. Just just understand something in terms of this community. This community can be some of the greatest at the times, but also some of the worst at the times. Mainly for the fact that if you want to do PVE, you can do everything. Everything in Destiny, you can do. Hell, that includes Gambit because that has PVE in it. Yeah, there's an aspect of PvP, but you can just outrun them, treat them like being chased by a tormentor. There is PVE in it. If you're talking in the sense of PVE and you can't lose, clearly you don't do dungeons, raids, or high-end nightfalls. Because honestly, that's what that is. So, with that being said, everybody, have a good day. Enjoy yourselves. Go out. If you play Destiny, you still play Destiny, there's shit to do. Go there. Do it. And if you're a PvEer and you see this video and you're like, well, I don't do PvP that much. Well, try it. If you don't like it, you don't have to stay there. If you're a PvP player and you don't do PvE, you should, because that will probably make your PvP experience better because you'll have some of the guns that everyone's been using. If you're a Gambit player, well, I mean, best of luck to us. I mean, we're kind of just sitting here waiting for Bungie to be like, well, hi there. Red Faction, see you later.